together. Before we start, just invoking Mother and Aurovindo's presence and bringing the mind home in the body. Leaving aside all the thoughts and mental suggestions. Yeah, so I think we have to start at page number strengthen the will, other persons and forces. So page number 54, I guess. Is that right?
54, right?
54.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us take this up. Would anyone want to read out? Other persons and forces. Others are a mirror. I'll just a second.
Okay, I'll read. Start.
Yes, Padalji, please go ahead.
Others are a mirror. When something in a person seems to you completely unacceptable or ridiculous, what uh, he's like that, he behaves like that, he says things like that, he does things like that, you should say to yourself, well, but perhaps I do the same thing without being aware of it. I would do better to look into myself first before criticizing him, so as to make sure that I am not doing the very same thing in a slightly different way. If you have the good sense and intelligence to do this each time you are shocked by another person's behavior, you will realize that in life your relations with others are like a mirror which is presented to you so that you can see more easily and clearly the weaknesses you carry within you. In a general and almost absolute way, anything that shocks you in other people is the very thing you carry in yourself in a more or less veiled, more or less hidden form, though perhaps in a slightly different guise, which allows you to delude yourself. And what is yourself seems inoffensive enough because monstrous as soon as you see uh, it in others. Try to experience this.
Yeah, Badalji, let's stop here and
Okay.
maybe, yeah,
Okay.
first we take this. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe first we can take these two paragraphs for reflection. So I'm sure all of us have good experience of this, that whenever we comment on somebody else's behavior, and it is a very common thing, I'm sure all of us have a very good taste of it. And now when we read mother's paragraph here, mother's words here, that well, but perhaps I do the same thing without being aware of it. And if we truly want to apply it to ourselves, actually we will see that there is something within us which becomes very uneasy. So, for example, maybe you commented on somebody's clothes or behavior or action or word. And now, if you want to apply it to yourself, that, oh, but mother says uh, everybody else is a mirror. So, I must have this also in me. And when we are applying it to us, we see that something in us becomes a little uneasy, that doesn't want to accept that it is there in me. And that is what we can call the egoistic self, and we have to go through that uneasiness to accept that yes, it is there, and perhaps I don't notice it in me as it is there in a veiled form, not that obvious. So we can actually be then thankful to others to make it so obvious to us, so that we can see what all is also present in us. It's a very common human natural thing, when to comment on somebody else's, and somehow as if in our ordinary consciousness we can't help it. It comes very naturally कि अगर कमेंट नहीं करें तो क्या करें, like that. So although it is an uneasy phenomenon that we have to go through that uneasiness, but I think it can be actually a very grounding experience when we notice something which we find shocking or ridiculous in others, but we are able to see that in ourselves also. It can be very grounding, humbling, humiliating for the ego, maybe, but humbling for the being. Yeah, so any thoughts or suggestions here are welcome on the first two paragraphs.
Yes. You know, for me, it's just hard.
I
It's, yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, like just going through this and to tell myself that, this is how I need to look at it. It's very hard because when I see something, wrong in a person's behavior, I instantly feel that my ego consciousness talks, it says that, you are being disrespected, or, you're not being given the pedestal that you somehow desire. Something very funny. It talks to me. Yet, at this point, right now, as I speak, I'm practicing silence. I'm trying to be very quiet, although there are so many things going inside my head, and I'm kind of, holding on to it. I'm just saying that, this thought, you are not mine. This thought, I don't believe in you. And sometimes I'm eating and I'm thinking, since maybe it's my hunger, out of hunger my mind's not working, and I'm sometimes experimenting. Let's hold on to this thought for 4 hours and let's see if it talks to me the same way. And 10 out of 10 times it doesn't. It does come back eventually, but again, if I hold on to it, I can see that it's not being consistent. So that is what I'm observing. But again, that process, because it's still a new practice, the process of, keeping silent, and the process of, um, like, I don't know, the process is very hard at this point. I think with practice maybe it will become easy, but right now it is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, there is someone in us who wants to be somebody, and we just want to be somebody all the time, and that somebody becomes very uneasy when it is not, as you were sharing, not given the right place or position. So, and we have to see that as our false self, and we don't have to listen to those dictates. So yes, it's a process, as you said. Yeah, Chetna, you wanted to add on? Yeah, Chetna, you wanted to share something? I think some network issue with Chetna. Yeah, anyone else wants to add on or share?
Actually, the is something like leveling. We see somebody, we come across, we meet somebody, we try to level. This is the first time we are meeting, maybe a new person, and so we try to gauge actually what this person should be actually or can be with our the past experiences or something and something, and immediately we put one level. So when I first went to the services selection board, so there was a psychological test where there was one part of the psychological test is this: they you write one paragraph about what your parents think about you. You write one paragraph what your school teacher used to think about you, and what others, you don't know them, but what others think about you, means what type of person you are actually. So then I realized I had to write there something around because there was no time to wait and all this to do. But I took it a point that yes, I must first, before I comment or try to put a level on somebody. So then I try to do this. What mother is telling us, you know, uh, because I am also doing like this, like a mirror. We usually forget that. So from that time onwards, I became conscious that yes, if people are thinking like this, now how other people are thinking, so that is my first priority. That becomes my first priority. So that immediately those things are comes down. So whatever the negative things or labeling that is coming in my mind, so that goes down because the labeling is not my duty actually. If I have to do some business or friendship or something or something, I must do that. uh, don't try to put. So I tell myself that don't try to put a label first of all that he's a good person or bad person or he's like that or he's heavily dressed or whatever way. So that is none of my business to correct. Thank you. So these are the thoughts which are coming to my mind. That I was correcting myself. What mother is telling me rightly so that it's like others are like a mirror. So everybody like I am thinking about somebody. Somebody is also has got the same capacity to think like this. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing here, I think we have to maybe discuss when we are talking about here, others are a mirror and we can't judge other people, because here we become a little confused. So if, and I'm talking of us who are in ordinary consciousness, we are not yogis or seers, right? So for a yogi or a seer to be in the company of, say, a criminal or a person who indulges in things which you would not want to indulge in, takes you to places where you would not want to, for him to be in company of that person is okay, because he has the power to influence the other person to change towards something positive and high. But that's why we talk of satsangat, or good company, because we in a very ordinary consciousness are influenced totally about with the outer influences. So if I have friends who just for the sake of fun or gossip or whatever take the mind to places where it doesn't need to go, I get more scattered, then I can't say that, oh, I should not be judging. So there is a fine line between discernment and judging, and I should not lose my discernment because I am not yet a yogi or a seer who can have an influence on the material whatever world rather than being influenced by it. We are all the time influenced by things around us, by people around us, but what they are commenting, by what they are watching. अगर किसी ने कुछ बताया कि अच्छा मैं तो ये देख रहा था, हमारा भी मन करने लग जाता है, चलो मैं भी देखता हूँ. So we are like that, and if we have good company, people who are travelers on the path of truth, they always go higher and higher and higher in their consciousness, then it helps me also to take that path. So we have to see here that we don't have to lose our discerning mind. We can stop judging people, labeling people, because that cramps up the space inside the mind, and that is good for this basic sanity. But to have discernment, we don't have to lose that. So हमको ये भी देखना है कि अभी हम कहाँ पे हैं. We have to provide ourselves with good company, either it is in form of gurus or masters or books or talks, whatever, which takes the mind towards more purity and detoxification, rather than making it more scattered and all just.
There's one more thing that I notice a lot, that, since we are all connected, I notice that a lot of places have their own work culture as well. You see, like when you go to some places, the work culture is that it's so nice, it's more proactive, people are more open, and then there'll be another place where everybody is very gossipy, backbiting. So I feel like sometimes we influence somebody else's responses as well. So I mean, if you think that something is not going right, but if you try and bring that change and bring a little positive ness to the culture, people actually adapt, because we are connected, we influence each other. Like, if I have to take from my everyday life, I can think of, like, जब शादी होती है, बहू घर पे आती है, and if the mother-in-law thinks, oh, she's going to take away my son and she's going to, create a rift, a division, I think it is like manifesting. And because the vibes go around that way, the daughter-in-law will behave that way, or vice versa. I mean, it can be the daughter-in-law influencing. So I think it's so important sometimes to, even if there is a certain culture or vibe that is pervading a certain atmosphere, we can, I think, try to infuse a little positivity. Of course, sometimes it's just beyond you, and then I'm not sure what is the right path, but generally I would just pull myself out of such situations. But if you can influence, then it's good, and it's a thought for us to remember that we influence others' behaviors as well. So if we can bring in some goodness and see if that is reciprocated, then it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
I would like to ask something in continuation with what Deepa just shared. For example, just an example, like if there is a situation like that, if somebody finds themselves in a situation where she said that, the mother-in-law and the thing, just this is a hypothetical example, but it could be anything. Like, so if you have that situation where you feel that, I mean, the other person is jealous of your light, if you, just because you are sensitive and you're caring and because you connect to things and the energy, you are able to, like, uh, serve better or serve what is needed, it's like the other person then projects jealousy. So now, what is the mirror and how can one deal with it? Because somewhere, say if that person is projecting that, but I also have responsibility of my vibration, so maybe I can also project love and influence that situation as Deepa was sharing. Is there any insight into that? Because a lot of times in life, as a mirror, like light does not always only attract light. Light also attracts a lot of shadow and dark, the stuff that needs to be transformed in life and in universe, that also gets attracted to the light. And then usually it doesn't know how to deal with it because it has that sensitivity kind of thing, so it doesn't know how to deal with it.
I think we somehow, as you said, light, this stage of life where we are all in right now, it has shades. It's not all light. Darkness is there, light is there, shades are there, everything is there. But I think we also get the strength and wisdom to deal with that. So we cannot say that we don't know how to deal with it. We gradually learn how to deal with it. All of us, haven't we, through our life experiences, being learning how to deal with this or that person or that situation, or maybe, as you said, jealousy. If, and for example, at times one can be guided from within, and not only at times, actually it is very important to be guided from within. Otherwise we are actually like a blind person trying to grope his way in dark. So to be continually connected with the guidance within is the best way forward, क्योंकि वही आपको बताती है कि आगे का स्टेप क्या होना चाहिए. कोई भी आपको एक फॉर्मूला की तरह नहीं बता सकता, है ना, कि अच्छा तू इस सिचुएशन में है तो अच्छा ये कर ली, तू उस सिचुएशन में है तो अच्छा तुझे ये नहीं करना चाहिए उस बंदे के साथ. दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स वी कैन सजेस्ट थिंग्स, बट स्टिल आई वुड से दैट the best possible guidance that we get is the feeling that we get from within, है ना, कि अच्छा अब मैं ये ट्राई करती हूँ, अच्छा मैं ये ट्राई करती हूँ. At times, we can get suggestions from outside, from our friends or books or wherever, and then we can try to experiment them. Like in this kind of a situation, as you are sharing, I remember one of the anecdotes with the mother, where Pranabda, and mother was very fond of Pranabda and very close to Pranabda. They had a very, I would say, intimate relationship. She relied heavily on Pranabda for many, many things. So once she said to Pranabda, when maybe he was not very well, that I would come to your room and I would make you some hot cocoa or something like that, in the early years. And Pranabda, what he said, Mother, don't do that because others would be jealous. And I don't want to make them jealous. So, and then mother said, okay, I won't do that because why to disturb the situation. तो अब ये जो guidance आई, ये उनको अपने अंदर से आई, है ना, कि अच्छा मुझे इस situation में शायद ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, ये मुझे नहीं करना चाहिए because others may not feel very nice about it. Now, ideally speaking, the highest possible consciousness, nobody should be jealous of anybody, right? But we are not there. So if we can, at times guided by our inner guide, choose those things, if there is a guidance for that, that is okay. Then to you choose that kind of a thing, that okay, others may not get jealous. At times you may get the guidance that no, you can't be untrue to yourself, you have to be true to yourself. So let the other person go through that evolution and he will learn through that process. So अब उस context पे क्या है वो कौन बताएगा, वो आप ही तो बताओगे, कोई बाहर से आके थोड़ी ना बताएगा कि उस context में आपको क्या action लेना है. So it's not like a formula.
Yes, I understand. And one more tip I want to ask is about the mirror, like how to see the mirror. Because a lot of times, like there have been a couple of situations where I have been able to see the mirror. But a lot of times it is, especially with the person we are most irritated with or we most dislike, we just refuse to see the mirror. I mean, so is there some process that we can really, that can help us to see the mirror, that where is our mirror, so that we can heal it in ourselves?
Voice is getting cut in between, actually.
Yeah, but I heard what she said. But were you not able to hear, Badalji?
Yes.
Yeah. What is, yeah, Chetna's voice cracks at times because of the connection. But what I'll just rephrase what she was sharing. So she was asking that at times there are people around us with whom we get a little bit irritated or maybe more irritated. And there we are not able to see that, okay, I don't do that particular thing, as if we are not able to see that mirror in us, that reflected in us. So, and there are times like that, but I think we don't have to make ourselves agitated in order to find, acha, let me find where am I like that person, so like that we won't get it. One has to be quiet and calm with it. That's the basis, that's the prerequisite. तो अगर आप ऐसे कर रहे हो कि अच्छा अच्छा मदन ने बोला था कि मिरर होते सारे लोग और ये मेरे को बड़ी इरिटेट कर रहा है या कर रही है, सो लेट मी फाइंड आउट कि मैं कहाँ हूँ, मैं कहाँ ऐसी, मैं तो नहीं दिख रही बिल्कुल ऐसी. सो ऐसी स्टेट में हमको कुछ अंदर नहीं दिखने वाला. लाइक पानी होता है और पानी के अंदर अगर मिट्टी घुली हुई है, इफ यू वांट टू सी ऑल द लेयर्स, यू हैव टू लेट द वाटर सेटल डाउन एंड देन यू कैन सी ओके व्हाट ऑल layers are there. In agitated water, what all you see is just like a chaotic, turbulence. So, whenever we want to experiment that, okay, let me see if others are a mirror, the basis is that we need to have a certain quiet within. उसके बिना वो दिखेगा नहीं. दिखना तो अंदर से ही है, शीशा अंदर ही है, लेकिन वो शीशा हमारी एजिटेशन से वो क्लाउडी हो जाता है, उसके ऊपर एक कर्टन सा आ जाता है शीशे के ऊपर. So, when we quieten down our agitation and when we are relaxed, especially like these hours when we are waking up or when we are going to sleep, and before that we still ourselves, then if we have a true aspiration to know, acha, let me see where the person was showing me that, okay, this is also present in me, let me see, and you relax yourself and you ask the mother to show you, it is impossible that you would not be shown. So a certain kind of quiet and relaxed calm should be there. Otherwise, we won't be able to know it. The knowledge is within, but we won't be able to access it.
Yes, thank you.
And this blinding haze that comes, at times, that what you shared the example, that if somebody is irritating you and you're not able to really see where am I like that person, there is a blinding curtain that comes in between, which is not letting you see. And that is because of that egoistic self, it creates an agitation and that acts like a blinding curtain. So when we quieten down our being, that haze kinds of, it clears away, and then we are able to truly see what is the thing. Yeah, anything more here, anyone?
You cannot hear.
Yeah, anything more, I said.
Yeah, yes. No.
Okay, so let's maybe, I think Badalji's connection was not okay. Yeah, so let's maybe read a little bit ahead, then we can take more questions and reflections. So in general, I think this we read. In a general and almost absolute way, Mother says, anything that shocks you in other people is the very thing you carry in yourself in a more or less veiled, more or less hidden form, though perhaps in a slightly different guise, which allows you to delude yourself. कि अपने आप को हम उल्लू बना लेते हैं, बिकॉज उसका वो appearance itna zyada, it's not like a big roop like we see in others. And what in yourself seems inoffensive enough becomes monstrous as soon as you see it in others. So this is very good. This is really very good, because anything that is atomic in me, in others I see it in a Ravan like form, like it pops out. And when it pops out like that, it is easy to see, that, oh, this is what its character is, this is how how ugly it looks. And whenever it pops out like a monster, form, दूसरों का रावण बड़े अच्छे से दिखता है, अपना रावण नहीं दिखता. This is the thing. और दूसरों का राम इतने अच्छे से नहीं दिखता जितना दूसरों का रावण अच्छे से दिखता है. So it's a very good, I think, practice for ourselves to see that कुछ भी अगर हमको हिला रहा है जो दूसरों से आ रहा है, anything that is shaking us up and which we find irritating in others and frustrating in others, if as a silent inward practice I can take it on the path that, okay, I also do that somewhere, and let me work on that rather than working on others. So it gives us, like, the whole world can become kind of a guru. It's a very good practice, although it takes a lot of courage, because time to time we get very uneasy when we see these things in others, and we don't want to really claim it कि मेरे पास भी ये है. So we have to go through that uneasiness and take the lesson. So yes. Yeah. So let us read ahead. Would anyone want to read? Try to experience this, starting from trying to experience this. And maybe you can complete all of it then.
I can read.
Yeah.
Try to experience this. It will greatly help you to change yourselves. At the same time, it will bring a sunny tolerance to your relationships with others, the goodwill which comes from understanding, and it will very often put an end to these completely useless quarrels. Look upon everything with a benevolent smile. Take all the things which irritate you as a lesson for yourself, and your life will be more peaceful and more effective as well. For a greater percentage of your energy certainly goes to waste in the irritation you feel when you do not find in others the perfection that you would like to realize in yourself.
Yeah, let's maybe take a pause here. So those of us, if we have reached that point in our life that we have complained enough about other people and their behavior and how they are, if we are ready now to turn the sight within. So Mother says, try to experience this. It will greatly help you to change yourselves. So those of us who are ready for this adventure of this transformation within, उन लोगों के लिए ये बड़ा helpful है, specifically for them, because change अंदर ही करना है, कुछ बाहर change होने वाला नहीं है. And of course that doesn't mean that you don't take a stand, and as Deepa was sharing, that if you can bring a little goodness, you of course do that. But half of our misery, human misery, comes from the fact that we want to change people and we are not able to change them. तो वो misery खत्म हो जाएगी, और उसका आप you're making as if good use of that raw material. So try to experience this. It will greatly help you to change yourselves. At the same time, it will bring a sunny tolerance to your relationships with others. Because oftentimes bitterness in relationships comes because we don't find that the other person is behaving how we would like him or her to behave. बट अगर ये दिख जाए कि जो दूसरे में दिख रहा है वो मेरे में भी है, तो देन दैट बिटरनेस डजंट नीड टू बी देयर. वी आर ऑल ऑन द सेम ग्राउंड. We are not superior and the other person is not inferior, which the ego thinks. So it will bring a sunny tolerance, very nice word, bright. Sunny tolerance to your relationships with others, the goodwill which comes from understanding. And it will very often put an end to these completely useless quarrels. Beautiful two lines. Yeah, any thoughts here?
I personally experienced this. There was a time when I'd become a little more negative and everything was viewed negatively. Like, for example, you come across all kinds of people, and you may experience goodness in people, or sometimes you experience something bad. But what I realized was I used to let the good just go past me without really acknowledging, thinking too much. Okay, he's a good person, and that's it. I would leave it at that. But the bad is what I would go on ruminating about. So, what happens as a result is you are registering, thinking, rethinking about all the negative, and that is what you filled your cup with. And that is only what you register. It took me such a long time to kind of have that introspection that I'm giving it so much importance as well, right? And we are all a combination of good and bad. I mean, there is no such thing as black and white, that one person is good and the other person is bad. But you filter out all the goodness and let it go, slide, and all you see is a very critical look at people. अच्छा ये अच्छा नहीं है उसमें, अच्छा उसने ऐसा किया, ये ठीक नहीं किया, and I mean, you just do not acknowledge what good happened. And that kind of a transformation in thought, when I tried to consciously bring about, it actually made my own life better, is what I've realized. You just stay in a more better frame of mind, you're more happier. Um, and yet also sometimes I feel it's about different people eliciting different reactions. So I think I might be better with outsiders, I might not be so good with my own family members, maybe sometimes too much the proximity as well. I mean, or it may be vice versa. You let the negative of your close ones slide past, but not so benevolent with outsiders. So it really depends from person to person. But I think that kind of initially it was a very conscious shift, and eventually I think it becomes a form of way of life. So it is worth a try, and it is really nice to do. Um, and when you kind of get on this path of seeing more good comes your way.
I think it's something, as you said, we have to cultivate. We naturally may not have it. Most of us, we don't have it. And maybe some of us who have it have done practice in their previous lives. So if now we want to cultivate, we have to actually bring it to practice. Very true. So this is, if you have seen, छोटी छोटी चीजें होती हैं जिसमें हम, है ना, जैसे दूसरे में हम देखते हैं, या the other person is so clumsy. This comments just, they're just coming into our mind, and we are believing in these comments, right? The other person is so clumsy. We may not say, of course, to that person that the person is clumsy, but we have a firm belief in the mind that कि कुछ ना कुछ तो गिराता ही रहता है, और ढंग से काम नहीं करते, or about laziness, that the other person is so lazy. और जब हम ये बोल रहे होते हैं और इन चीज़ों पे विश्वास कर रहे होते हैं, तो ये हमको लगता है कि हम नहीं है वैसे, है ना, तभी तो कुछ ऐसा निकल रहा है कि, है ना, कि दूसरा है वैसा और मैं नहीं हूँ. सो इट्स वेरी, एंड द अदर थिंग इज, ऐसा नहीं है कि आप पूरी तरह से बिल्कुल सेम ग्राउंड पे हो, ये भी नहीं है. सो दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टू रियलाइज दैट लेजीनेस ऑल्सो इज इन डिग्रीज. सो इफ वी आर 6 people here, each person is in degrees lazy, and some would be lazier than us in respects, and some would be maybe more active than us. So it's like a kind of a shade card जो होता है ना, वो जो पेंटिंग कराते हैं तो शेड कार्ड मिलता है आपको. So it's like that we are all in degrees lazy, but when we are commenting on somebody else's laziness, it appears that I am not, which is not true, because I am also in degree, in relative degree I'm lazy, and I can do better, and so can the other person, and then so can the other person. So everyone can be better from wherever they are. So this looking into others as a mirrors, it doesn't mean that we are all on the same ground. It just means that in degrees we all have the capacity to grow further. तो अगर अभी ऐसा लग रहा है कि मेरे में नहीं है, तो अच्छा है कि वो दूसरे में दिखा कि मेरे में भी उसकी कुछ अमाउंट है. ज्यादा कम उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, बस ये है कि है अभी, है ना. डार्कनेस है, इलविल है, क्योंकि अगर दूसरे की इलविल दिख रही है तो मेरे में भी कुछ डिग्री है. हम यहाँ पे परसेंटेज की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक लॉन्ग लैडर ऑफ परफेक्शन की बात कर रहे हैं, जिसमें आप बढ़ते ही चले जाते हो. तो दूसरा हमको दिख रहा है हमारे नीचे कि अरे ये तो मेरे से नीचे बैठा हुआ है लैडर पे, है ना, इसमें ज्यादा इलविल है. अब यहाँ पे ये कोई डिस्कस नहीं करने वाला कि ज्यादा या कम है. कहने का मतलब है कि अगर दूसरे में दिखी है तो तुम्हारे में भी है. तो आप बस उस ग्राउंड को लेके आगे की तरफ, टू कल्टिवेट मोर गुडविल एंड टू लेट गो ऑफ इलविल. तो हमने अभी जहां पे हम हैं उससे हमको आगे बढ़ना है. वो दूसरा बंदा जहां पे हमको दिख रहा है उसको उससे आगे बढ़ना है ना. एंड इवन मास्टर्स, एंड इफ यू सी, यू नो, इफ वी हैव मेट any good people who are truly realized, actually they are very grounded people, because they know that abhi unka hua nahi hai. You know, there is a long ladder that we all have to go on. So this part that we were reading, that if we experience this, it will greatly help you to change yourself, so we can continue this growth towards perfection. It helps us not to get self satisfied, है ना. अपने से सेटिस्फाई होके नहीं बैठ गए कि मेरा हो गया, अब दूसरों का होना चाहिए, वो चीज नहीं आने दी. So it will greatly help you to change yourselves. At the same time, it will bring a sunny tolerance. So we empathize when the other person is clumsy. Either I can shout at him, oh, you are so clumsy, you know, you are not changing. Or you can point at it and then also let the other person change. So having that tolerance, having that empathy, that अरे मैं भी तो भूल जाती हूँ, you know, कोई अगर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज आपने किसी को बोली और कोई भूल गया, तो आप भी तो भूलते हो. तो the hint is given, but it's not that you crash the other person, that how can this be done, this is not, you know. So if we have been there, we have done our mistakes, then we know that these are just phases that all of us have to go through. So there is more tolerance, there is more empathy. Yeah. Yeah, so look upon everything with a benevolent smile. Take all the things which irritate you as a lesson for yourself. It's very interesting when you're getting irritated to be able to take it with a benevolent smile is an experience in itself. So take all the things which irritate you as a lesson for yourself, and your life will be more peaceful and more effective as well. Why effective? Because it helps me bring the change within. So it is affecting somewhere. And while if I just have the irritation and not able to change myself, then it is not having any effect apart from that poisonous effect. So it becomes effective only when I allow it to change myself from within. So more peaceful and more effective for a great percentage of your energy, certainly goes to waste in the irritation you feel when you do not find in others the perfection that you would like to realize in yourself. So, whenever we are in such a situation, and I'm sure all of us have been, है ना, किसी ने आपके ऊपर कोई कमेंट मारा that you did some mistake, and to be able to take it gracefully and to able to say inwardly or maybe outwardly that we are all learning and I will also learn. So that somehow grounds us and allows us to make the change without being feeling victimized कि oh मेरे को कैसे बोला गया, how come the other rejected me or insulted me. So both ways it can happen, whether we are at the receiving hand, giving hand. It's a very courageous practice actually. At times it brings a lot of pain also. It's a good kind of pain. Yet to change oneself is not an easy task. We have to know that. So that's why warrior spirit or Aryan spirit is required. Shamelessly you have to get up again. Shamelessly, again and again you have to be without shame of being your older self and get up and rise again to be the new self. That requires some guts and courage. Yeah, anything here? Anyone?
When you were sharing, the anecdote of Champak Lalji, which you have shared often, when he said that, okay, when he was getting angry that somebody has lost mother's picture, and then how he was able to get back and say that, have I not lost things? That's a very beautiful example because if we look within, it's a very big point, like our ego or our foolishness, those degrees and comparisons that you were talking about, that less goodwill, more goodwill. I mean, that's really important because we get stuck in that and we find that it's justified. We feel that, yeah, I'm less wrong and that makes me more right. And that's just crazy talk actually, but we indulge in that. I was listening to somebody, some session on Yoga Sutras, and there it said that how the negatives, the lower nature movements, they are so easy to come by, like those are as if are natural things now, and yet for these things to say let this go, that takes practice, that has to be inculcated. So it's not that that would come naturally unless you have already worked, like you were discussing. So it was like a factual thing, kind of that according to the Yoga Sutras, the flipping comes easy, but if you have to walk, you have to be careful. So I think sometimes we feel that yes, I have read it, I've heard it, I agree with it, and it will happen. So that won't happen. So that's what they were saying, that you have to consciously make a choice, aspire, whatever we want to do to make this work. We have to do that, put in that effort and change. So that was nice to know the way he said it very strongly. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let us see what lies ahead. The last paragraph. Anyone want to read?
I'll read. Okay. You stop short at the perfection that others should realize, and you are seldom conscious of the goal you should be pursuing yourself. If you are conscious of it, well, then begin with the work which is given to you. That is to say, realize what you have to do and do not concern yourself with what others do, because after all, it is not your business. And the best way to the true attitude is simply to say, all those around me, all the circumstances of my life, all the people near me are a mirror held up to me by the divine consciousness to show me the progress I must make. Everything that shocks me in others means a work I have to do in myself. And perhaps if one carried true perfection in oneself, one would discover it more often in others.
Yeah, thank you. So very interesting. The last line. And perhaps if one carried true perfection in oneself, one would discover it more often in others. Very, I think, grounding for us to hear this, because the more we see that the world is full of and people are full of imperfections, the more I have to know for myself that I have to change things within. We are not perfect. I am not perfect. And that is why everywhere, all that my eyes see or hear is imperfection, imperfection, imperfection. हर जगह हम कुछ ना कुछ खोज ही लेते हैं कंप्लेन करने के लिए. Very interesting. And there are also people, actually, I'm sure some of us may have met or seen, or maybe in our family or friends, there are also people who anywhere they can actually find something positive anywhere, in the worst of circumstances they can find something positive. You can't imagine how that person can find something positive there, but the person can find it. So that's what mother is sharing, that if one has true perfection in oneself, and it does not mean that the person himself would be perfect, but it means that he is in communion with something within which is of true consciousness. And when we are more and more in communion with something within us which is true consciousness, then it is easier to find goodness outside. जहाँ पे सब कुछ काला दिख रहा है, वहां पे अगर आपको थोड़ी सी बत्ती नजर आ रही है, इसका मतलब आपके अंदर भी बत्ती है, तभी वो उसको देख पा रही है. और जहाँ हमको दिखता है, हमको हर जगह काला ही काला दिखता है. Mostly, not always, of course, but at times when the cloud is there, we just see all the dark things, not the positive things. And we have seen, actually, for ourselves we must have seen, जब होता है ना बड़ा अच्छा दिन होता है कभी कभी, oh bright day for me, sunny day for me, then everything seems so perfect and nice and hunky dory, सब कुछ अच्छा लगता है. And then there are days which are a little dark and dull, and something is not okay, uneasiness is there, then everything irritates you. छोटे से छोटा कुछ भी होगा वो irritate कर देगा. So this itself is a very good example in front of us, that it's not outside but somewhere within that, that vision changes. वही लोग हैं, वही situations हैं, और एकदम से सब डार्क 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 दिख रहा है, और वही लोग हैं, वही situations है, और आपका मूड अच्छा है और सब कुछ ठीक है, तो आप more surrendered हो, more kind of ease within yourself, और सब कुछ ठीक लगता है, अच्छी अच्छी बातें दिखती है. दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी कि देख कौन रहा है उसको, जो बाहर की चीजें उसको क्या देख रहा है, कौन सा सेंटर देख रहा है. सो इफ आई एम लिविंग मोर एंड मोर फ्रॉम माई ट्रू सेंटर, देन इट बिकम्स ईजियर फॉर मी to look at what positives are there rather than talking about all the imperfections. And not to say that imperfections need not be corrected, they will be corrected, but everything takes time. So there is no need for then frustration, irritation, anger, annoyance कि ओ ये ऐसा क्यों है, सड़क खराब क्यों है, कोई पैसे नहीं देता, हमारा सारा टैक्स का पैसा खराब जाता है, देखो सड़क टूटी हुई है. और उसी सड़क पे रहते रहते लोग बड़े खुश और इजी भी रह सकते हैं. सो वेयर इज द प्रॉब्लम? इज इन द सड़क or is it in our minds? And that doesn't mean, of course, I am saying it again and again, that the sadak needs not be corrected. It of course must be corrected, but I need not be annoyed for little outer details. That annoyance doesn't lead me anywhere. So rather than annoyance or irritation, as mother says, that we spend a lot of energy there, we waste a lot of energy, और फिर वो अपने ऊपर काम करने के लिए कोई एनर्जी बचती ही नहीं है, तब बिल्कुल हम ठुस ठुस टाइम टाइम फेस हो चुकी होती है हमारी, क्योंकि इतना सोच लिया दूसरों के बारे में, इतना सोच लिया कि आपकी सारी एनर्जी वो सोचने में निकल गई, और अपने ऊपर काम करने का टाइम आया तो आपको लगा कि ओ मेरे पास तो आई हार्डली हैव एनर्जी. वो डायनेमिक एक्शन के लिए एनर्जी नहीं बची आपके पास. So if at times we feel very drained and exhausted and less motivated to work upon ourselves, definitely I am losing my energy somewhere. So we can check where are we losing energy. While when we are in communion with the divine within, or remembering the mother, or more easy within, then it gives us energy for all the outer tasks also, inner and outer tasks. So it's a very good indicator how energetic we feel within. It will tell where am I spending and wasting energy, or whether I am rejuvenated with the fountain from within. So yes, any comments, anyone? Can take, maybe read out the last paragraph, and then if there are any comments or reflections we can take. You stop short at the perfection that others should realize, and you are seldom conscious of the goal you should be pursuing yourself. If you are conscious of it, well then, begin with the work which is given to you. That is to say, realize what you have to do and do not concern yourself with what others do, because after all, it is not your business. So, however close that person may be to us, it is not our business. We have to remind ourselves. And the best way to the true attitude is simply to say, all those around me, all the circumstances of my life, all the people near me are a mirror held up to me by the divine consciousness to show me the progress I must make. It's very interesting, very, very interesting. Oftentimes we have people around us who just are very passive. Have you seen? They just don't move. And you are ready to take a stand, but they are just not ready to move. And there it is, how they are helping us is that they are allowing me to move. Because it's by looking at them, I realize that no, I don't want to be that lazy. I want to get up and move my life and make good use of this precious human life. So that is how they act like a gymnasium, like somebody is gymming the muscles. So all these people of opposite characters that are put around us, they help us to work on ourselves to make ourselves better and better. So that's what is shared here, that if I can say to myself that all those around me and circumstances of my life, all the people near me are a mirror held up to me by the divine consciousness to show me the progress I must make. Everything that shocks me in others means a work I have to do in myself. And perhaps if one carried true perfection in oneself, one would discover it more often in others. Yeah. Any last reflections or thoughts here? Anyone? Okay, so I think
Actually, there is no end to
yeah.
purification.
Mhm.
There is no end to purification. Like once in the beginning of my life, when the priest used to come for doing some puja and all, so they used to say that now you have to tell this mantra. Before that, you have to purify yourself. So that Sanskrit sloka he used to utter, and we are asked to utter the same thing. Apavitra, pavitrava, sarva vastang, adhuta, jatsarit, pundarikakshang, sabajja, bantaram, shuchi. So means Bahar and Andar and all everything becomes this thing. And we used to say that but now we have become purified actually. You are not supposed to eat any meal before doing the puja, but we have taken something. But after this mantra, everything is nullified. So that was the concept of purification in the initial stages. But when somebody was telling that you just do anything, you just for about half an hour in 24 hours, you just try to sit down and don't think anything, just keep quiet. So that's also a type of purification of mind. Okay, so I started that. Then I read one book. They say that complaint-free world, complaint-free world. So that is a movement through the church. There is exactly the same thing. That do not criticize others and all this. And you have to do it for 21 days. So you have to tie a band on your one hand and you start. And the moment 21 days is over, now you can remove the band and all. But nobody could, those who started seriously, nobody could finish it within 21st days. So you try maybe for 5 minutes. Can I not blame anybody or any situation or anything and survive for 5 minutes? Because there are also 50,000 thought process crossing our mind in 24 hours. But every time if there is it's raining, oh my God, again it started raining. And if it is a sunlight, there's so much bright sunlight, you cannot go out also. So every time we are only criticizing. So recently stop criticizing for 21 days and I actually get verified. I started doing seriously, but it will end up doing certain percentage. And I saw that yes, it has got a definite effect. If you try, if anybody tries, and it has got a definite effect on purification of mind. Then comes when the life divine, I started reading. It was very difficult to understand anything. I don't know anything has gone head in the head or not. But it's a called purification, and there is no end to it actually. What on the rights? I think it will take a couple of lives or something, just to understand and get purified. But definitely we can do something. You cannot say no, you cannot do anything. It has got no effect and all. It is just simply reading and all this. No, it is not so. And any such practices, whatever has been, told and discussed and mother has said and all, it has got definite effect. But how seriously we can do sadhana and you can get into it, like it is not only read and understood, but you have to practice. So then only probably the perfection, towards the perfection will be moving. As you said that it is, we have stages and stages, and this is a long staircase of perfection. So maybe a few steps we can cover. So that was the attempt actually.
Yeah.
So this was the thought process which are coming to the mind.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what, as you shared, that when we see that it is a very, very long process and we have been trying and at it, and yet we see there is a further long journey to go. It also helps us remain grounded when we see that, oh, we have a long, long way to go. So, and as Mother was sharing, that it helps us empathize with others also who are also co-travelers on the path, knowing that we are also on the path. Everyone is on the path. And yes, so helps us not waste a lot of energy. Yes. And also remain more concentrated, right? Because this distracts us a lot. Talking about others and thinking about others, are how others are behaving, it's a very distracting thing for the mind. It scatters the mind around. So when we are not involved there but concerned with our inner progress, then it kind of gathers the mind. It brings it in rather than scattering it about. So yeah, so let us maybe take a moment of silence then before we end, and uh, sharing, dedicating whatever merit may have been accumulated with all the sentient beings near and far. May we all have the strength and energy and courage to travel on the path and to further and further purify ourselves, and have lots of empathy for others around us also on the path, knowing that we are all co-travelers. And just like how we are changing, others are also trying to change. Yes. Thank you.